Today we are going to be putting on a full face of the most affordable makeup I own. I thought it would be a good time to do this video with prices becoming really inflated, everything becoming very expensive. I spent a lot of time trying or testing out new makeup releases or trying new to me makeup irrespective of what the cost is. So I wanted to focus on the makeup that is the least expensive in my collection and put on a full face of makeup for under $60. Some of this makeup is actually some of my favorite makeup in my collection. So it's a really good time to, I think, focus on like the really good stuff that we've got or targeting things that are still really good quality that brands are making at an affordable price. So that's what we're gonna get into today. Let's just hop right into it. I was really excited when putting this list together because it's actually a bunch of different brands. It's not just like one brand in particular. And I have a pretty big collection. So like going through everything, I knew which ones were my affordable ones, but when I sat down to look them up, it was like a good variety of the different brands. Drugstore makeup has a tendency to vary in price depending upon where you get it. It's not very typical of like high-end makeup to change very much in their retail price, but with drugstore, I see a lot of variation. So what I was targeting was the least expensive option that they had out there, because between Walmart and like, for example, CVS or even Ulta's website on some of these items, the prices vary greatly. I didn't take anything that was on sale into consideration. I took the actual retail price of it. I will be listing everything in the description box, but also when I'm talking about the products, I will be telling you like where I found them at the least expensive price. So let's just start with primer. The first one that I have actually won for drugstore Allure Best of Beauty for 2022. This was the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer. This is a really good dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydra Grip. It's a very similar consistency. It's a very similar color. It performs very similarly. This does retail for $6.96 at walmart.com. That is where I picked this up. Primers was an interesting category because I don't find a lot of primers, or at least in my collection, are very inexpensive. When I went to Walmart to look for primers, a lot of them are more expensive than some of the less expensive foundations that I have in my collection. So this was the least expensive primer that I have. It's also a really good primer. I think it's a good grippy primer, but it doesn't dry your skin out. So I think that's important for someone who wants a grippy primer that has dry skin. That particular primer was actually the least expensive by like a landslide of all the other primers that I have in my collection. So I don't have any alternatives to show you, so I want to go into eyeshadow primers next. The least expensive eyeshadow primer I have in my collection is also by a landslide. This is the Essence Prime Like a Boss eyeshadow primer. This retails for $3.99 and I did pick this up from Ulta. This does come in just a universal shade. It doesn't cast anything onto the eyes. It blends out without giving any kind of color to the lids. But I noticed that it works extremely well with every shadow that I've used it with. I usually just kind of blend it in with my finger or a sponge, and I do top it with a little bit of powder because it is a little bit grippy and I don't want the shadows skipping, but I do find that it helps my shadows stay more vibrant and longer throughout the day. And even like when I end up kind of being rougher on my makeup, like maybe I'm touching my face or kind of taking a nap, I notice that if I use this eyeshadow primer, they just tend to stay longer. So again, a product where I don't have an alternative because this is the least expensive eyeshadow primer that I have in my collection by a landslide. It doesn't come with a lot of product though. It is 0.16 fluid ounces. So I actually have used a considerable amount of this product since I purchased it at the end of January. Because I do want to set this eyeshadow primer because it is a little bit tacky, I want to go into powders next. I do only have one powder. So the one that I have is the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. This one retails for $3.97 and you can get this at Walmart online, in stores, and on Amazon. I do really like this product overall. I think it's a really good like mattifying powder. I also think it's really finely milled. Most of the products from Rimmel I do enjoy. There are some of their mascaras that I don't love, but overall like Rimmel is a pretty solid drugstore brand where everything is really affordable. So I do enjoy this. We'll use this again to set over foundation and concealer. I want to go into foundation next. I actually have a couple of foundations, but one is less expensive than the other, and it happens to be my second favorite foundation in my collection. This one comes from e.l.f. This is the Satin foundation. It does retail for $6. You can get this on the e.l.f. website, Ulta's website, and sometimes you're able to find this for less expensive actually on Walmart Online's website without a sale. This is one of the best satin foundations that I have in my collection. It's the least expensive foundation that I have in my collection, even over the next product that I'm gonna show you. It's kind of like a whipped consistency, but it's right away like full medium coverage, very opaque, but it's very hydrating. So it's a really good formula, I think, for any type of skin. And I think that's important when you have a satin foundation, that it can be very versatile across different skin types. So I wanna bring up my alternatives here that I think are really good. Again, affordable, but not as inexpensive as the e.l.f. one. So the first one is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus. This is in the dewy version. You can get this for $7.49 at Ulta. I was able to find it a little bit cheaper at Walmart and Amazon, but it's a limited shade range. You don't get the full range of shades that this comes in those alternative sites. It is an interesting applicator. You could probably, you know, get like a pump on it if you wanted, but it comes with just a paddle. This is a really good one. Wet n Wild tends to be some of the more affordable makeup just in drugstore in general and in my collection, but this was more expensive than the e.l.f., but it is a good alternative, especially for like dry skin in the dewy version, but they also make, I believe, a matte version in this. While I am putting on this foundation, I do want to give a shout out to my very, very favorite sponges. I talk about these a lot on my channel, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about them. I actually think some people don't care for these sponges, but they are the Total Face sponges from e.l.f. These do retail for $6. These are the least expensive sponges that I do have in my collection, aside from other ones that I kind of get from TJ Maxx that are already discounted, and those are off-brand anyway. I actually blew this one up so it gets really big, but I use these dry a lot of the time. I don't end up getting them damp. They are meant to be used wet or dry, and I think that they work perfectly. Favorite sponge ever. I have a ton of other sponges in my collection, and I just keep finding myself reaching for this sponge because I think it gives like the most seamless application of makeup. Now we are on into concealer. So I do have another product here from Wet n Wild. This one, again, beat the next least expensive one in my collection by a landslide. This is the Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer. It retails for $4.29. You can get it at Walgreens, Walmart, and Amazon. Has an interesting like flat shaped paddle. It's supposed to be full coverage. I don't necessarily find it being full coverage. I find it's more medium buildable coverage, but it's also a very hydrating formula that doesn't dry out under my eyes throughout the day. It also doesn't crease, and it gives me, like I said, medium coverage that I enjoy. I'm gonna go back into the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder now, and I'm just gonna use a damp sponge and just set my face. Now we are on into brows. This is another one where landslide, hands down, least expensive brow pencil that I have in my collection. This is the Ultra Precision Brow Pencil from e.l.f. I do have this one in the shade Taupe. This is a micro brow pencil. It does retail for $6. e.l.f. is one of the more consistently priced brands across the different retailers that you can purchase them at. This is like pretty good dupe for the Benefit Precisely My Brow, which is my favorite. I'm really into brow pencils that are micro pencils like this, but it's not overly creamy, but it goes on very easily, and I do find that it lasts a good amount of time. So everything in a brow pencil that I would want it to do is this. It's not as long lasting as the Benefit Precisely My Brow, and I think that's kind of why I like that one just a little bit better. But aside from that, they're nearly identical in like texture and formula. Okay, now we are moving on into bronzer. I do have another Rimmel product here. This is one of their natural bronzers. This particular one retails for $3.97, and you can get this at Walmart and Amazon. I don't actually want to use this one today because it's a little bit of a warmer shade, but it's a buttery, very creamy, very airbrushing kind of formula. It's good and long lasting. This particular one just has a little bit too much warmth than I think I want to put on today. This one is in the shade 021 Sunlight. So I'm going to hold off on using this one, and I'm going to use the next one in my collection that is the least expensive. And this one is from Believe Beauty. This one retails for $4.75. You can get this at Dollar General. This is actually a deeper shade. This one is not the lightest shade that they have in their collection. This is the second lightest one, but it works for me quite well. This one has a little bit of a sheen to it. It's beautiful and very inexpensive. And I think that this particular bronzer performs like high-end powder bronzers that I have in my collection. Let's move on into blushes. I actually have quite a few more blushes than I have anything else. There's so many good kind of affordable blushes on the market right now, both in powder and in cream and liquid formula. So the least expensive one that I have in my collection actually comes from Profusion, which is nice to bring in kind of another brand into this. So the first one that I have that retails for $4 on the Profusion website is the I Heart Boba Cream Blush. This one is in the shade Bes-Tea. It's a really nice cream formula. It's a little bit on like the stickier or kind of tackier side, but it's a really pigmented cream blush. It's very, very long lasting, and it's still an easy formula to work with, even though it's a little bit of a stiffer formula. So this one does retail for $4. This is the least expensive blush that I actually have in my collection. The next least expensive blush that I have in my collection I'm actually going to put on today. This is the Wet n Wild Makeup Glow Mega Stick blush in the shade Floral Majority. This is just a creamy, pretty pigmented, long-lasting formula. You really can't go wrong with it. I think that it performs like a lot of high-end blushes, in my opinion. This one does retail for $4.99. You can get this on the Wet n Wild website, and originally they actually only had 3 shades of this, I believe. So they just expanded and added 3 more shades, which is really, really nice. So they have 6 shades total on their website, but the 3 new shades are in different or updated packaging from this. Honestly, with this, I really do just draw it onto my cheeks and blend it out because it's a pretty creamy formula and you can get away with that. I think it blends in beautifully. Just pigmented, cream to powder formula, doesn't seem to get patchy on me, and it lasts a really long time. So performs like some of my high-end products, and I think that they do a really good job in the formulation of this. Like, you can't go wrong in any of these Megaglo sticks. The next one that I have that is the least expensive also comes from Profusion. This is the Social Butterflies Soft Cloud Blush in Painted Lady. You can get this on their website for $5, but if your local CVS does also carry this, then you can pick it up there. It's a mousse formula, so it almost feels like a cream product, but it goes on basically like silk. It's very airbrushing. It's very easy to blend in and apply. I think Profusion did a good job in both of these formulations. Profusion is often a brand that I really, really like, and you can get them in quite a few different places. Five Below also sells them. Walmart also carries some Profusion things. I find my Walmart doesn't carry everything. The next one that I have is another one from Believe Beauty. This is one of their Color Me cream blushes. This one is in the shade Dollface. This does retail for $5.75, so it's on the more expensive side. The limitation with this is that it only does come in 2 shades. It's a really emollient, very beautiful, like cream formula. It blends in very easily. It has a tiny bit of sheen to it, but it blends in like a cream to powder formula. So I think it's a tremendous formula. So far, I've only been able to ever find 2 shades. So that's kind of a bummer. I'd like to see them expand this. If they have, and I just couldn't find it, you guys let me know in the comment. Okay, we are moving on into highlighters. So there's 2 highlighters that I want to go over. The one that I'm going to put on is the least expensive one. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder. This one is in the shade Blossom Glow. This does retail for $3.59. Currently, I was only able to find 1 shade on the Wet n Wild's website, and it was retailing for $6.49. But when I went to Amazon, it was actually in 5 different shades that they still had available, and it was retailing for less. It was retailing for $3.59 for each of the 6 shades. This one is a little bit of a pinkier color, but this is such a beautiful formula. Like, I know a lot of people have talked about this particular formula. It's just smooth and goes on silky. It seems to melt into my cheeks really nicely. It's just kind of a really good, trusty kind of formula powder highlighter. The other one that I want to mention is another product from Profusion. This is one of their Whipped Glow Mousse Highlighters. This one is in the shade Sweet Whip. This does retail for $5. It does come in only 2 shades. I did pick this up from Walmart.com, but it also retails for $5 on the Profusion website. This is a very different formula than the one from Wet n Wild. It's much more sparkly and shimmery, but it's also very smooth. It blends into the skin very nicely. It gives just this really wet effect. It's almost like tiny sparkles, but not. It just kind of makes my hand look wet. I think this is a really good formula. I don't hear a whole bunch of people talking about Profusion when they're talking about affordable makeup on their channel, so I think this is a really good one. Wanted to mention this one as well. Let's move on into setting sprays. I only have 1 setting sprays. Just like primers, I feel like setting sprays is another area where they don't sell them for very cheap. I don't know why that is. I just seem to find that with primers primers and setting sprays, like even walking through Walmart. So the one that I do have is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus. This is the 3-in-1 primer water, and it's the rose one. They do have many different scents. I think there's like 3 or 4 in this particular line. On the Wet n Wild website, this does retail for $6.49, but you can get this at Amazon for around $4. I think I found it at $4.19. It's a nice sprayer. A lot of product comes out. I kind of find this is not like an overly setty product, but it's more like a refresher kind of product. It's just kind of one that I feel like kind of refreshes my makeup. Let's move on into eyeshadow. So the least expensive eyeshadows that I have in my collection that are actually pans, quads, palettes are the e.l.f. bite-size one. So I do want to mention that, but it is not the one that I'm going to try on today. This is one of the bite-size eyeshadows in cream and sugar. I don't particularly love or am overly enthralled by the formula on these e.l.f. bite-size ones, but they are consistently $3 no matter where you get them. Walmart, on the e.l.f. website, and also at Ulta, and they do have a lot of different color stories. They even just launched new ones, I think in the very beginning of this year or at the end of last year. So this is a really good one. I do like this particular formula and this quad, but there are some other ones that I don't really love the formula. I don't find that they're 100% consistent. The ones that I do want to try on today, I do have 2 of these particular palettes. It's nice that I get to include another brand in here. These are the Revlon Colorstay Looks Book palettes. I have 2 color stories. I have Enigma and Maverick. These are one of those that are inconsistent in pricing depending upon where you go to pick them up. I have found these on Target online, in the Enigma one for $5.99, and then the Maverick one was retailing for $6.99. I've also seen these on Amazon. I'm pretty sure I picked this one up from CVS, and then I got this one from Amazon. They're pretty inconsistent depending upon where you get them. I would say they retail for about $6. I think the reason that I really like these more than like the e.l.f. is because you get so much more variety in these color stories than you do in just the quads in the e.l.f. I actually think the shimmer formula is better than the ones in e.l.f. as well. So let's go into the Enigma one today.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
So I think that these are really blendable. I think you can build good depth with these shadows. I like the shimmer formula better than some of my more affordable, like smaller palettes. Overall, I think that Revlon did a really good job in formulation with these. I think these are really good travel friendly palettes. They offer a good variety and you can get multiple eye looks out of each of these. Okay, we are moving on into mascara. I only have one. It beats the others by a landslide that I have in my collection. It's probably not the least expensive mascara that's on the market. It just happens to be the one that's the least expensive in my collection. It is the Essence Lash Princess Mascara. This pretty consistently retails for about $4.99 on Ulta's website, Essence's website, Target, Walmart. This is the one in the green packaging that's the false lash mascara. I love this. The only downside to this particular mascara is that it isn't like transfer resistant. On hotter days, it does transfer down here. It's not really good for your lower lash line. But aside from that, it's got its hype. I think rightfully so, because it's very pigmented. It gives good amount of length and volume to your lashes. So this is not only one of my least expensive drugstore mascaras, this is just one of my favorite mascaras in general. So let's move on into the final category, which is lip products. I only pulled out 2 bullet lipsticks. There are a lot of other formulas. These are actually probably still the least expensive in my collection. So I want to put one on, but then I want to throw one in as kind of like a bonus item. So the bonus item is the Essence Semi Matte Lipstick. This is the nude lipstick. This one is in the shade Freaky. This is a really good semi matte formula. This is definitely one of my favorite semi matte formulas in my collection, not just from drugstore. It's just creamy, it's long lasting, it's relatively inexpensive. It consistently retails for $3.99 on Essence's website, Ulta's website, even Walgreens. But the one lipstick that I do want to talk about is even more inexpensive than that. that. This is the cream lipstick from LA Colors. This actually retails for $1.48 and it does come in 15 different shades. You can find this at the Dollar General, Amazon, Walmart. It's just a really good cream formula, really inexpensive. 15 different shades is tremendous for something that's $1.48. I don't have a lot of LA Colors or LA Girl stuff in my collection, but they are really, really affordable and most of their stuff is really good quality. Hey guys, we are back. It is about 5 hours later. I have taken a nap in this makeup. I started to edit the video and realized that I wasn't filming my outro. So here we are. If you wanted to see how the makeup held up, I did do a little bit of a touch up on the left side of my face because I slept on this side, but this, I didn't touch up anything. So that is it with the nap. 5 hours in, I did not touch up the foundation or the mascara. I just touched up a little bit of blush and highlighter and a little bit of shadow on that side of the eye. So you can see that it's pretty good quality, pretty decently long-lasting, affordable makeup. So that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you are new to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I am out of here, you guys, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.